Welcome to Homefront Sit Rep. I hope you're in for a great show today because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find Homefront Sit Rep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out Homefront Sit Rep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting. Welcome to a Monday edition of Homefront Sit Rep. How is everybody doing? Mr. Al, how are you, sir?
I'm good, brother. I'm just happy to be excited to be on your show, brother. I appreciate you guys.
Man, I'm glad you could come on. It looks like our buddy Ty's having some internet issues. But yeah, so we're joined by Al Hero. He is one of the co-hosts of Triple Threat Vet podcast with DJ Scott, Ty Cobb, Matt Johnson, Mr. Al Hero. They go live on Thursday, so you guys probably want to check those guys out. They do some amazing things out there. Al's in Pensacola. The rest of the three are out in Texas. But I brought him on today just to be a special guest host for Homefront Sit Rep because we got some special people that will be coming on here shortly. We're going to talk about the veterans villages. Right now they're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and they are working on a project out in Chicago, Illinois for female veterans. First we're going to bring Mr. Edgar Morales up on the stage, and we're going to get to know Mr. Edgar Morales. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Edgar. How are you, sir?
Hey, good, Willis. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your military background and stuff like that.
Well, I go back a ways, back in the 80s, I started my military career back in 1985, went in, did, my basic training out in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, then did my AIT out there and soon after shipped over to West Germany, where I spent about 4.5 years with the 12th Engineer Battalion, served as a supply sergeant, small arms sergeant. Spent a lot of cold days out there in Germany, but had a lot of fun. Wasn't quite the job that you guys were doing, but I was still part of the team. Then from there, ended up in Fort Ord, California, which was very nice duty. About 2.5 years with the 3rd of the 123rd Aviation Brigade, which was the team that went into the Panama invasion back there in late 80s. So I was holding down. I was one of 12 guys left on Fort Ord, on all of Fort Ord, holding up the air base with the air base had the weapons room and everything was out there. They were coming in and out, and it was an exciting time. But I left the military. It was 1989, and then I got called up to the Gulf War. Okay. Didn't actually go over there. Had orders to go over there. I was on a bus running, and that lasted all about 90 days, right? So, right. We just sat there in Fort Lee, Virginia, training troops, going through the Quartermaster Academy, and never actually got to go over there. I know you guys have done multiple tours out there, but I stayed stateside most of the time outside of Germany. So
yes, don't downplay it, Edgar. You were a GI Joe when I was still playing with them. You know what I mean? You were the real deal.
Yeah,
and I was still buying GI Joes at Walmart, trying to be like you. So
yeah,
that's
well,
impressive, brother.
You shouldn't have shared that time frame.
You look younger than I do. You look like you're damn 25 years old, bro. Like I'm in my 70s.
I appreciate
You're good to go,
it.
man. You're keeping yourself fit, so that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm younger than both of you cats, and I was probably just a twinkle in my dad's eye at the time, so it's like, holy cow. But no, you still signed your name on that dotted line, and CB's every leg of the military has a job to do,
right.
And no job is more important than the next job.
Nope.
So now, granted, special operations, they get most of the acknowledgement, but all the legs are important.
But those guys, and like I know, Willis, those guys can't do what they do without support staff, right? Whether that's the bean, bullets, and Band-Aid guys, the supply side, or whether it's logistics guys, they the intel people, there's no way, every time we went downrange or whatever missions that we did, there was no way that those could have been executed as efficiently and effectively as they were without 100 other moving pieces and 100 other people that were way more intelligent and smarter than us knuckle draggers, right? There's no way any of that gets accomplished without the entire team. I mean, that's just the facts.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And a lot of people get upset that, like let's throw, for example, Navy SEAL Team 6 goes in, they get pinned down, and then they bring in
Marine Corps QRF.
Yeah, Marine Corps QR.
Group gets pinned down, Marine Corps or Army comes in. Whoever's the closest unit in that vicinity is the ones who are going to come in and save the day. But they don't they won't get the credit. That QRF unit's not going to get any love.
Yeah.
But they're the ones
we all get the same training. We just don't always get to apply it,
Exactly right.
Yeah, so I talked with my buddy James Thornton, who was in Somalia all the time, and and if he sees an event, like the Mogadishu Mile, and it says in recognition of Task Force Ranger, well, there's other people involved in that, and he gets upset, which rightfully so, because he was in that firefight. He went to help get the Rangers out, and sometimes they get overlooked, and I can understand that, but Task Force Ranger was the whole operation to go in to get those guys. So it's one of those things. It's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So
Edgar, how long total were you in?
Just over 7 years.
Oh, nice. And then when you got out, what'd you do?
So I went straight in. I don't know how things have changed from the promotion state, but I would have been on a E7 or E6 list forever, with the point system at that time, so I just chose to get out at that point and went into real estate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, my wife is a mortgage banker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
and I think Ty's involved in that world as well.
Yeah, he's having internet issues.
Yeah, it's okay. So fast forward, Edgar. So then, you've done all, your military career, you've gotten to real estate. How did you get involved with veteran villages? Like how did that happen?
Yeah. So that's, fast forward 30 years. So, that's how much of a window it is.
A big window.
Yeah, massive window. It's a bay window.
So, I was involved in real estate, which is basically single family homes and stuff. And I went in that 30-year window, I went to work for the federal government. So I went to work, for USDA, where most people think has, chickens, cows, farms.
Yeah, I think cattle. I think steaks.
That's right. So, but the portion that I went to work for was USDA Rural Development, which is a sub-agency where we deal with infrastructure, commercial finance, development, all of those areas that for sustainable communities. And so I spent a good, maybe 18 years combined there. And then I went to work for HUD, spent, 4 years, a short stint for HUD, spent 4 years, HUD San Francisco office, came back to USDA, and then I left the federal government in 2017. And then when I left the federal government, I left the federal government to work in the private sector, where I work now, which is in the commercial finance, financing affordable housing, new construction, existing, preservation, special needs housing, such as what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
With the affordable veterans housing. And Dana and I connected paths a couple of years, soon after that. So it's been we probably have about a 5-6 year relationship where we've been trying to find ways to be able to finance modular construction, which is something that the industry has been slow to catch on with, just because of how they inspect these units at the factory versus inspecting stuff on site. Like when you're building a home or you're building, the inspector comes out there and tags things. Well, now they have to tag these units in the factory. And so, anytime you're using government insured loans, the government's funny about, approving draws, for units that are not even on site yet. And so, there's part of it is sort of, getting the federal government to understand how the flow of funds work in developing these projects and making sure that they're feeling secure about that process. But so Dana invited me to sit on the board. So I've been sitting on the board. This will be my third year with the board. And then we got into sort of assisting with some of the financial structures of how they were putting the deal together. And this was VBC's first project. And so there's been a lot of learning curve for them. I got involved on the tail end, which is I'm going to be taking out all of the existing finance that's on the project and placing a permanent long-term debt piece on the project itself. So that's really how I got involved. And yeah, it was a window of 30 years because that got me there, and that's where we are today, as we're looking at, stabilizing this project and then moving on to the one in Chicago and possibly, other projects.
Awesome.
So, go ahead. I was going to ask him. So I know that you were saying that you're on the board, and Danny could probably talk a little bit more in depth about the project. But could you kind of give us a little insight? I don't know if she's going to be able to come on. She's had some unforeseen circumstances. But could you kind of walk us through what this, what the brainchild behind it was, or what the motivation or the drive to start this project?
Yeah.
And kind of what it is. Kind of give the viewers some insight on what this project is all about and what it does. Right. Yeah. As much as you can. Right.
Sure. So, it was, for Dana and their group, again, I came on board on the tail end as this project had already, the board had already been formed. And the board consists of pretty much most all veterans that are sitting on the board, that are in different silos of different professions, and whether it be a fund, because it's a nonprofit board, a lot of it has to do with fundraising, being able to raise funds to provide, either services and or equity for some of these development projects. But the board was formed out of a need, just like anything else. And as you know, there are thousands of veterans groups all over the country, and not all of them are serving, the veterans as we want them to serve.
Right.
So, Dana wanted to put together a project or a board and a development that was going to go strictly to the needs. And those are our brothers and sisters that are in the streets, right? And possibly with their families, or they could be homeless. When you hear homeless, a lot of times you're thinking these are folks that are literally in the street, but there are folks that would be homeless or are about to be homeless. And these type of projects are offering below market rents. And just because they're offering below market rents, it doesn't mean that they're not being provided, safe, sanitary housing, the same stuff we would live in. I mean, we would live in these units. This is not, this is not substandard housing. This
ain't in the worst sections of town and the crime. No. It's not, they're nice, right? They're not, it's not like you're living in like I said, like the worst section of any city in America.
Or the quality of the units, right? So, even, when you hear affordable housing, a lot of folks think, they sort of envision, what might have been historically affordable housing, dilapidated housing,
right.
The lights don't work. And then that's sort of the public housing. The
government projects, government subsidized type properties.
Exactly. And the goal is to integrate the veteran in the community. As far as offer the veteran more opportunities and access to opportunities. And so that's part of why, we're building these projects in communities that are already established, mainly urban communities, where veterans will be able to either take public transportation or, if there's a busing service or something, they're usually built along transit lines and public transportation. So that if, in case they don't have vehicles, they have access to that. Also close by, hospitals, making sure that all the supportive services are available to the veteran. And so these projects are being built in these areas so that, number one, housing is the first thing, right? You gotta house these guys, these ladies, whoever. Some of them are families, some of them are veterans with families, and so, they're just not individuals, and so that's a start, really. It's just part of being self-sustained, and sort of having some pride of ownership on that, and the veterans are proud people, and that's, but unfortunately, when veterans come back from service, it's thank you for your service, but that's all you hear, right? I mean, let's what is the path forward? And so that the housing component is just one piece of it. And so, we can't be all things to the veterans, but we can start with that one piece is more than just providing shelter that's pride of home ownership, even though they're not owners, but they feel that they're living in a great place, in a great environment, and they're not necessarily in an environment where they may be subject to going in a different direction versus, going in a direction of opportunity.
Right. So I've been involved with some veteran service organizations, and one of my projects was a tiny home community for homeless veterans. Now, in the Louisville area where I'm at, you have a first step program where they take homeless veterans in if they're dealing with addiction, alcohol, you name it, whatever. They bring them in, they're in there for 90 days. Well, when they get done with that program, there was no middle ground.
That's correct.
So a lot of the veterans, they fall back into the same rut that they were in before. So one of my things is to develop a tiny home community that would help support that veteran in that transition from stage one be to stage two, and then stage three would be, going out, purchasing a home, having all the things that they have. And I'm going to see if I can share my screen and just share you what a little bit of what our village was going to look like. Let's see if I can share. I might have to bring up here.
So while he's doing that, Edgar, I had a question. So I know that you've got the properties in the Philadelphia area currently, and I heard you mention that you guys are working on a new development project or something new for female veterans in Chicago. Kind of what does that look like, or what's that entail?
So that's in concept, and when we say working, the concept could take a year or two, maybe sometimes larger. So that's even more targeted. So when you're looking at, the veterans in itself is a targeted special needs. And Willis, you were talking about these three different levels of veterans. There is, veterans that are coming into that have needs they have high trauma, the PTSD, all of those things. Typically, though that level of veteran is not integrated with the rest of the families and the individuals who don't have those type of stigmas or things that are associated with their service. And so, but there are special needs housings that are targeted solely for that. And there are services that are provided for those veterans. And so when we're talking about like the project in Chicago, there are a lot of female veterans that are just really forgotten that have different needs. Just like, male veterans have different needs, depending on the level of both trauma and what's going on in their life at that time, if they're dealing with any other things such as substance abuse or things of that sort. And you mentioned not being able to go back to, just being put out there after they've gone through one level. That's really important. And really these projects that we're looking at are really the middle area of it, where, at least for now,
Right.
these projects we're not involved so much in the services that are provided, but we contract with nonprofit groups that specialize in providing the services that the veterans need. And so for a targeted women's complex, there might be many issues that are associated. We have like battered women, shelters.
Yeah.
And
single moms who just
absolutely
have the ability, right? Yeah, right. No, the support system, the help. I think it's phenomenal. I really do when you look at the concept of what you guys are doing. Because as a veteran, I think like for my family, I got a family, I got kids still, right? The number one thing I need to worry about before I have a job and I worry about putting food on the table would be put a shelter and a roof over my family's head. So that way they have some safety and security, right? And then I can work with some other organizations, or you guys are working with organizations to help, maybe job placement, and then, other avenues to help. But yeah, number one would be roof over the head, a place for my daughter to sleep and my family to feel secure. So I think what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal. When I talked to Willis today and he was talking about what you guys do, I was super pumped about coming on and talking with you, because I think this project is just absolutely a huge need, right? There isn't a need for, even with the project in Chicago, right? Your female veterans, right? Yeah. There is a difference between what I might deal with and then one of my sisters in arms who went through some of the same things I went through, whether it's the tragedy and the PTSD or whatever it may be, right? We have two different ways of dealing with things and different issues, just period, across the board. So I think it is pretty awesome that you guys are looking into doing something for female veterans, because unfortunately, right, and I may get blasted for it, but I do feel like at times that our female veterans, just like Willis alluded to earlier, right, that, certain units get all the credit and certain people get, the thumbs up and get all the love and all the help, right? But the fact of the matter is, I don't think female veterans get enough of the thumbs up, right? Enough of the Bravo Zulus and the thank you for your services, and get is enough credit for what they've done and their contributions to the military as a whole, to combat units as a whole, across the board. They're definitely not given the same due respect, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. For somebody blast me, right? Give my personal number, give me a call. But I really feel like they don't get the love and support and just the props that's due for what they've done, hands down. And if you don't like what I say, come see me. I'm in Florida.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the thing is that, when a lot of folks, who are not in the military, they just figure that, okay, a woman who's been in the military should be able to get through whatever life's challenges are in front of her or in front of us, because we have military experience. Well, that's not necessarily the case. The thing is, many veterans go into service very young, so they don't have a lot of life experiences, and most of the growing up happens for us in the military. And so when we come out to the real world, we're dealing with real world experiences that we may or may not be prepared for. And so not only that, if we're coming back from a combat era type of military, we're coming back, with traumas that would affect, and we may have, our veterans may be fully functional, fully stable, but these are traumas that are happening to, whether it's a woman or it's a man, and these are affecting their ability to go through life in the normal way that you and I would normally do, that we're not associated with a combat era veteran.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, hands down.
So there's a lot of female veterans in Kentucky. I mean, I think it's like upwards of like 75,000 female veterans in the state of Kentucky. And a lot of times they do get overlooked, because like if you look at all the different veteran service organizations that are out there, a lot of times they don't have events just strictly for female veterans.
Nope.
They got events for male veterans. They got events for co-ed, but they don't have veteran or female veteran events at all. Luckily, there's a few in Kentucky that focuses directly on the female veteran. So yeah, I definitely love it. And then when Mark, who's on here behind the scenes here, he reached out to me and told me about you guys, and I started doing my research. And one of my things, like I said, is always been homeless veterans within the city of Louisville and the state of Kentucky. Is one of the things that it was near and dear to my heart. And like I said, I started the project as AT&T veterans, and then when I got involved with a different veteran service organization, we took it over to them. And one of the things that I wanted to do with it was a lot of veteran villages out there are stick built, so they're just wood put together real quick. I wanted something different.
Plywood palaces. They're all the old plywood palaces,
Yeah,
right? So I seen
yeah.
your picture, bro. They almost like Connex box type homes, like steel.
So these are shipping containers.
Nice.
This is Luckett and Farley came on board, and they designed this beautiful place. Man, I tell you what, it was beautiful.
Nice.
We started working on it before COVID, and we had everything approved through the city. We had a little under 5 acres of land. It was kind of like a triangle. And then, like, when you first go in, you got your parking lot here at the bottom. You got a memorial garden here, and then you had your ADA compliance over here. And then some of them were going to be for families, some of them were for single veterans. And then, if you notice, like in between each one, like this one has water, this one had fire, this one had I want to say some kind of little statue inside of it. But yeah, we got really blessed with it, and like this is the looking from the kitchen out, and
that's impressive. Yeah.
So we did a lot on it, and unfortunately, so here's the general overview. So like when you pull into the parking lot, and there was a little chapel on site, and then just outside of over here, there's the main highway. So you had your transit routes. There's the VA clinic just right up the street, bus routes, you name it. It was there. It was going to be really cool. And then, like, here's the end of it where the chapel is. It had a little wading pool there.
Oh yeah, that's a nice setup.
And then here we had like a barbershop come in that was going to come in, give the veterans haircuts. We had a little small doctor's office in one of them. We had Cub Bank was going to come in and teach the veteran how to balance a checkbook, how to do all of that. So we had all these people that were going to come in and set up in these little areas here that would help the veteran get to that next stage where they can buy their own home. We were going to help them get a job. Then we had each one of the houses. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. Was going to be painted with a military ribbon. So you were going to have one that was going to be like the Purple Heart home. You were going to have one that was, national defense or whatever. So yeah, we had it. It was all lined out, ready to go. COVID hit. Funding for this we couldn't get through the state or for federal, because in Kentucky, shipping container homes has never been done.
Right.
We could have done stick built, but with shipping containers, it was so hard for us to get approval for it.
Which is crazy, Will. That to me is mind blowing, considering how many of us lived in damn shipping Connex boxes in country. Like packed us into a Connex box. Good luck, fellas. You know what I mean? But you want to help a veteran, and we don't know how to do it. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So this type, the different types of construction, moving from stick built and metal built, construction and timber, that's something that the federal government, dealing with agency financing is barely starting to catch on,
right,
and barely feeling comfortable about. And modular is here now, and that's what Veterans Village is.
Yeah.
And folks like VBC can put, just the way you showed that concept. That was shipping containers. We can do that with
modular,
very easily.
How many units, Edgar? How many units do you guys currently have in Philadelphia currently?
I couldn't tell you. So I'm not part of VBC.
Okay.
But as far as the way that it works, so let's just say you've got a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. Mm-hmm. That may be 2 actual containers or 2 actual
modular homes
that are going to be put together.
Like the way they do a double wide kind of, you can put, 2
correct.
wides.
They're just different pieces. For instance, we've got VBC did a project here in Oakland, California, right by the Veterans Hospital in Oakland, that we're doing. It's not a veterans village, but VBC built the project, built the modules, and we had them shipped out of the Tracy plant. VBC now has a plant here in California, in Tracy, California. And so that project, just for instance, when we're talking about modular and how fast these things happen, there may be a lead time of about 4, maybe 6 months, depending on how busy the factory is to build these units. This was a 58 unit project. That doesn't mean there was 58 modules. There might have been 120 modules, but there was 58 completed units in this project. Now, it took 4.5 in the factory to build. It took 3 weeks to assemble on site. So you're talking about a project like that would normally take about 1.5 years to build if it was stick built. But because the units come turnkey with floors, kitchens, paint, everything's done. You're just putting these things together like Legos. And that's how fast these things can happen. And the only reason it took 3.5 weeks is because we had limited ability for the cranes. And it's depending on how many cranes you get on site will depend on how fast and how many modules you can put and assemble on a site. But it's fairly quick. So we're working on a project in Sacramento, which has 198 units. Dana's quoting me, 10 weeks to assemble it.
Wow.
For 198 units.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's fast. I couldn't build a birdhouse, bro, in that many weeks.
No, no, exactly.
I'd be in trouble. I couldn't build a birdhouse, a doghouse in 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Not that my dog would want to live in, at least. So I'm with you, Edgar.
Yeah.
So it looks
efficiency and quality are one of the biggest things. They're very energy efficient, very quiet, very well built. As a stick built, it's going to have about a 6-inch wall in between the units. This is going to have almost a foot between one unit, between one wall, because you've got 2x6s on the exterior on each module. So you put two 2x6s together, you got your 12 feet, right? Then you got a 12-foot wall, both on the ceiling, the floor, and the walls. You can they're a lot more silent than even a hotel.
What about, that's awesome.
I guess my question would be too is what about so it's sustainable housing, obviously, for veterans. Is it just like any other housing apartment complex, right? They sign a lease, or can they stay long term? Are there options for these veterans to stay longer than a normal lease, right? Or is it more, I guess, you have short term, right? 12-month leases, and then they got to go, or is it more long term for these?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So for a lot of veterans, houses tend to be transitional housing.
Correct.
And so this is not. This is home. They can sign a 12-month lease, and if they choose to stay there and they want to stay there, they can continue to stay there. Nice. This could be their home forever if this is what they choose. It is not transitional housing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
As Willis was talking about at the top of the show, there's that different level where you're transitioning from the early stage to the middle stage, and then possibly going into home ownership. I mean, that's the goal for all of these, but sometimes home ownership is not. Even if it's financially within the realm, it may not be psychologically, or it may not be something that fits in that veteran's goals. And so they may be comfortable where they're at, with the home, where they're at, the location, they get a job, and they live a normal life and be able to contribute in whatever way they can. It is not transitional housing. It is long-term housing, it's permanent housing.
Nice. Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah. So a lot of times when veterans get together with other veterans, they feel comfortable. They don't want to move on. They're they're in a little area that they feel safe and secure. So why would they want to change that and disrupt their life? Which a lot of veterans, are dealing with anxiety or PTS, or you name it, they're dealing with it.
Right.
So when they get into an area like the Veterans Village here in Philadelphia, they're comfortable. They get into a routine and they don't want that to change. So definitely what you guys are doing at Veterans Village is amazing.
Yeah, because you're turning communities into almost family, right? I live in a community, but if I lived in a community with nothing but veterans, you become a family, right? It's a different feeling, it's a different dynamic, it's a different atmosphere, right? I joke on our podcast and tell people all the time, I can meet Willis on a Monday at work in the Marine Corps. We bullshit at work and we talk, and then by Saturday he's at my house for a barbecue, like we've known each other our whole lives, and we're a family.
Yeah.
He's hanging out with my kids, right? It's just a different dynamic. So I guarantee you, these communities of veterans are going to be more like a family, right? The outsiders aren't welcome. It's different. Yeah. It's a different dynamic when it comes to us, for sure.
Yeah, and the thing is really familiarity, right? You're coming from whatever duty you were serving, wherever you were at, and then you're coming back. You're still synergizing with a group of veterans. Yep. Yet you're integrating back into the community because you're not necessarily on a base, right? You're in your home, but your home is within a community of civilians, and so you're now a civilian. And so part of it is allowing you to integrate as much as you want to integrate, but still having the safety net and the synergy of the brothers and sisters that served in the service.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Edgar, I want to say thank you for coming on here and talking about what you can talk about with your involvement with the Veterans Villages. We'll have to reschedule with Miss Dana and get her on so she can go into more in-depth detail with the Veterans Villages. So, Mark, if you can make that happen, I know you're in the background. If you can make that happen, and we'll get you guys back on at the beginning of in January, and hopefully we can get Dana on and other people that are involved, because what you guys are doing is something you're doing it on a much larger scale than I want to do it on. But I want to be involved. I don't know how that looks, but if I can get you guys in Kentucky, I'm going to do what I can do to get that happen.
Well, I'd love to do something in Kentucky. We do a lot of stuff. I've done stuff South Carolina, North Carolina. I'm actually going to be in Nashville in a couple of weeks, working on a project out there with a faith-based organization where we're going to be doing, a mixture of veterans housing and special needs housing, along with, veterans housing isn't the only thing I do. It's mainly affordable housing and special needs housing. So we do workforce housing as well. We want to make sure we offer that transition. But absolutely, Willis, and I will invite you guys to, if maybe just telling the story is you guys will probably do a better job than we will. We're sort of in the weeds on what we're doing on our end, and you guys might be able to tell the story in a fashion that is edible for everybody else.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I know, so we have like I said, we have a bunch of organizations here that do, that first step. And then we have some organizations that do the third step, but we don't have anything that middle ground.
Right.
And that's something that is needed, because there's a lot of veterans out there that, they go through, they want to get clean and sober. And then after those 90 days, where do they go from there? Because they're right back on the streets. So they fall back into the same ruts. So, and our program that we had set up for that, it was originally set up for an 18-month program. We were working with the VA. We had HUD-VASH. So that, everything was taken care of for that veteran to help them get back on their feet. And that's something that's needed. And yeah, I'm definitely going to keep up with you guys, and hopefully we can make some things happen here in Kentucky. And
I'd love to learn more about what you're doing there in Kentucky, Willis, and maybe I can, throw my 2 cents in and see what else I can, help you add value to what you're already doing.
Awesome. Well, Al, I know your kid needs to get on the computer for homework and stuff like that.
No, but I really want to tell you guys, thank you for letting me come on with this. This was awesome. Edgar, you are now a brother from another mother, brother. If you need anything, let me know. If you're ever down in Florida, look me up. But I appreciate it. I love you, Willis, man.
Yes, sir, brother.
You're my man. So I appreciate the time to let me come on here and be a part of you guys' team.
So when I have them back on, you want to come back on in January? Sounds good.
Absolutely.
We'll make it happen. All right, Al, you be good.
God bless you guys.
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it. You guys take care.
Hoorah.
All right,
Edgar. I'm gonna talk to you real quick while he's jumping off.
Sure.
So yeah, looking here on the Veterans Villages page here, it looked like it was 47 units. If you don't mind, I'm gonna play the little video here on the screen, just because I wanna share it and let people see it. If I can get it to share screen, there we go. Just because I think it's something that needs to be played. So So let's do this.
What happened here today was the weatherman was actually right. He was right today. It did rain, and it was windy. But we had a really good turnout today with the community day cleanup for Veterans. We needed to really showcase to the community now that we're built, we're ready, almost ready for move in. That we're here to help the community. So for us to have our clients and our donors, partners, to come out and really one see the village firsthand. And that's all our work is. Every single one of them was like, wait a minute, this is not affordable house. This is I would live here.
I think really what I took away the most from today was just the space, the building itself. The construction, the way that it comes together for veterans. I'm excited. That to me stands out more than anything else. Is how nice this facility, this village looks.
Facility itself is gorgeous. It's light, airy. It's very uplifting. It's been to help get it ready for moving day.
My name is Brad Becker. I'm with Phoenix. I'm one of our chief growth officers, and I'm one of the founders of the company. It's absolutely amazing. The progress and see how things set up so quickly. It's just amazing to see all the details that went in, the architecture, the floors, lighting, to include the infrastructure for these veterans. Just amazing, and look forward to supporting this experience for long term.
That's why we do this. That's why we give the best for our veterans and for all our constituents for BBC Commission. And that's what BBC really wants to do is our parent company BBC really wants to showcase what they can do on affordability standpoint, modular, make it faster to alleviate the housing problem and crisis for the United States. So with us giving back to certain community pillars is very key for us. So we have our veterans village. Then we have our children aging out of foster care that we will be building. The youth services, single female households, and seniors, and then refugees globally.
Well, I'm really happy that John contacted me to help the cleanup day. I said to John, I looked in the apartment, I said I could live here. And they're beautiful. So it's going to be a really nice opportunity for folks who have been underhoused.
We think it's important because the number of veterans on the street that are homeless right now that have access to care is unbelievable right now. We're at an epidemic, and providing this infrastructure with BBC will allow veterans long term to be able to be in the community and thrive.
You know what's crazy? Everybody I talk to across the United States is I want to bring one here. Let's bring one here. Let's bring one here. So that movement of just seeing this come to total fruition and moving forward to other cities once. So for me, I can see now we're going to go up into the stratosphere. We're skipping the walk and the run phase. It's rocket.
Man, that was awesome.
Yeah, you see the quality of the units inside, right?
Yeah, they were nice. Yeah, they were really nice. Oh man, I'm definitely excited. And like they said, let's bring that here. I'm all for it. Like I said, I was very instrumental in getting that program up and running. And unfortunately, COVID took a big hit on us, and just couldn't get the funding for it. And then just some other things fell through the cracks. But I'm ready to get back into the grind because
let's relook at the concept and see how we can get it financed. Maybe we make some changes and tweak it to put it within the parameters of getting some government financing on it. I'm
down for that. So definitely, I'll have to get your I think I have your email already because that's how you got on here. I'll shoot you an email later, and we will conversate and stuff like that. So
sounds good.
Sounds good. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on here. If you ever need anything, reach out to me. And then we're going to do this again in January when we can get everybody lined out with Miss Dana and everybody. So appreciate you coming on here and
Sounds
hanging
good,
out.
Willis. All right.
Sir.
We'll talk
soon.
Have
a good night, sir.
All right. Ciao.
All right, bye. Man, how cool was that? I tell you what, homeless veterans and homeless veterans, that don't even sound right. Veterans that are homeless throughout the country, it shouldn't be there, man. I tell you what, it's one of those things that is a passion of mine, is to help eliminate the homelessness within our community of our veteran brothers and sisters out there. And if you're out there, check out veteransvillages.org. Check them out. They are doing some amazing things. Donate, volunteer, whatever. If you want it in your community, bring it to your community. So, but yeah, I just want to thank Mark for reaching out. I know you're still on here, Mark, in the background. Thank you for reaching out and connecting me with you guys. What you guys are doing is amazing. So right quick, I'm going to pay the bills before I end the stream. If you guys are out there, you're in the music business, check out my boy at talenttalents.com. Chris is doing amazing things out there. Louisville Local Entertainment's another sponsor of mine. We're working on getting their video here shortly. Check out these guys. They are doing great things within the community for veterans and also for the music scene locally and nationally. So here's the talent.
Owner of Talents here, and I just want to say that we are ecstatic to be a major sponsor of Homefront SitRep, a community that is ran by veterans and made for veterans. So thank you for tuning in. Talents was formed in order to create a music scene that was together in the form of a collective, so that no one has to do everything on their own. And guess what? We've been doing this for free for over a year. So please go and check out Talents through Facebook or through our official website at www.talenttalents.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for tuning in to Homefront SitRep, a veteran-owned and operated podcast just for you.
All right, we are back. Yeah, definitely. If you guys are in the music industry, you're a band, you're a musician, whatever, check out talenttalents.com. Locally, nationally, whatever, check them out. Louisville Local Entertainment as well. Rick and Chris, they partner together and they are super amazing guys. Chris is not a veteran. Rick is. Check them out, man. 22 a day is too many. Like I always say, stay safe out there. And I got your six. Have a good night. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find Homefront SitRep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.
Stay safe out there. I got your six.